Welcome to the Appliance Educator podcast, presented by ZLINE Kitchen and Bath, attainable luxury designed in Lake Tahoe. Today we welcome celebrity chef and restaurateur Mark Estee, as well as the CMO of ZLINE, Galen Bradford. Welcome to the Appliance Educator podcast. Today I'm joined by Galen Bradford from ZLINE Kitchen and Bath, and our special guest today is Chef Mark Estee. Welcome to the podcast, Chef. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, thank you. Really excited to be here. It's a pretty cool spot we have.
Yeah, we're really excited to have you. Yeah. So we're going to have some fun today. Just wanted to kind of dive right into it. Our first question for the Appliance Educator audience at home, we kind of wanted to know, what are your thoughts that every home cook should be looking for in a quality range and the other key appliances from a chef's perspective?
You know, that's a great question. I get asked that a fair amount, and I can tell you that I always turn it around right back at the person asking me. So I say, what is your goal? What is your objective? You know, how do you like to cook? Like, are you once a year cooker? Do you cook, 3 meals a day? Are you in there with your family? Are you a bachelor? Are you a single mom? Are you a happy family of 10? Whatever it may be. I really think that the person, I always try to really make sure that people know what they want when they go in to buy an oven or a stove or kitchen appliances or bath appliances, anything really. You want to make sure you know what your objective is. And obviously, once you can kind of figure that out, and if you don't know those questions, that's an answer too. It means you're not really, you don't really know those questions, and you don't know those answers. So to find out those questions, try to help them find out what makes you tick, what makes you think that, what's your goal? Do you have goals to aspire to be a better cook at home? All those different things. I mean, I could tell stories of going to people's homes who have been living there for 10 years, and I opened up their oven and all the manuals were still inside it. They never even opened their oven once in 10 years. And I just was like, wow. So obviously that kind of person, that is, some people do it. It's there because it's a piece. Right. It's an art piece to a certain extent. Other people, they use the heck out of their ranges and their stoves and their ovens, and they kind of really dial it in. And, obviously, that's kind of why I'm here, is to talk a lot about, what are you looking for? I can tell you, once we figure that out, really you get into what I look for is like the simplicity of it all, right? So things that you could look for would be like, why do you cook? What are your goals? Are you looking for healthy meals? Are you looking for family meals? Are you serious? Are you easy? Are you kind of make it kind of go along with the seasonal, or you grill all summer, and otherwise in the wintertime you braise all winter, right? Like you cook with the seasons. And I think once you figure those questions out, like looking for what you would purchase in a kitchen, how big your kitchen would be, and what you would outfit it with, would be the most important part.
I love that. Just kind of starting with like, what are your goals before entering a meal, before you really take action? It's huge. Yeah. Just a little background on Mark Estee. So we're here in Northern Nevada in the Appliance Educator podcast studio, which is cool to finally be in person here. This is excellent. We got some whiskey here. Yeah. We have a nice little conversation here. Yeah, it's a whole crew. So let's say we have, these people listening to this podcast, and they want to get into some, home cooking a little bit more. They want to feel that passion. They're excited about a good meal. But how would you guide them into, hey, this is going to help hook you. This is going to be like that payoff. That's really that next level thing that makes you want to push yourself and learn more.
Well, there's probably like a 2-level answer there, right? So first off, I'd start with the most thing is, for me, everything starts with, is it delicious? Does it taste good? Is it seasonal? Is it simple? Is it local? Right? Those are that's like, I wake up, I take a shower, I put deodorant on. Usually I comb my hair, usually. And, those are the things you always do every day, right? So those are the most important parts. But to get you hooked at home, I would start with those questions, right? Is it something that's fun? Is it familiar? Is it are you reaching for something different? And then really becomes about the ease, right? And that's why I'm so excited about this, like the ease. Like, what can we do from a kitchen supply spot to make your life easier, right? Can we make it so your burners always work? Can we make it so your oven's always right? Can we make it so when you put on convection, it truly is convection, and that everything browns appropriately, and the fan space is working really well? And all these little nuances that happen in our world, in the professional kitchen, can you translate that same stuff to home, right? Because isn't it more fun to paint your house if you have the ladder and the paint, or the paint thinner and the brushes, versus like trying to paint your house, you're like, oh shit, I gotta go to the store and get a ladder. Oh my God, I gotta go get this, right? Like, so you wanna have everything ready. So you wanna have all your ingredients, you wanna have your mise en place. I'm gonna talk about mise en place over and over and over 1,000 times. You're gonna hate it. We should probably call this mise en place.
Break it down for the audience.
Right?
Break
mise en place, right, is like everything has its place, right? So mise en place, everything has its place, right? So get your shoot together, right? So have your stuff, right?
You can swear in this podcast.
I can swear in a podcast?
This is that type of podcast.
And,
Nice.
and to set you up, Mark, to tee this one off, I think COVID just pushed a lot of people into the kitchen.
Yes.
And more time with the family. Like
Yes.
when you kind of asked the question earlier of like, what are your goals? I think a lot of people now are just like, I have to cook at home.
Yeah.
And I'm cooking for the 6 of us.
Yeah.
Because of the nature of the last year.
And why not enlist the kids to help? And they can help with the dishes, and they can lick the beaters, and they can do whatever the heck they want to do. And someone can sear the chicken in the beautiful pan, and someone can put it into the oven. And you get them involved in it, because you're probably tired of like looking at screens all day or doing homework or Zoom calls all day. And it's like, oh my God, we can actually cook together here, And I think that it's really fun to kind of bring that all together, So if you have your place, you need your place. We call it mise, a place, whatever you want to say, but mise en place. If you go to make a recipe, you need to have everything you need for it, right? Otherwise, you could be running to your neighbor's house in the middle. Hey, can I get an egg to finish this thing? So you want to have everything you need, right? So that includes, does your oven work? Is everything fine tuned properly? Do you have your pans? Do you have all your cutting board, your side towels, and all the things that go into it, right? It's so simple, which is my favorite thing to do, but it's so difficult to do it right? So the most simple things are the hardest things in my book.
Wow.
That's kind of like our little trick, right? Where I'm like, oh, keep it simple, but that's the hardest thing to do, because you want to overcomplicate it, right? You don't have 75 different things out there, and you got crap everywhere, and there's a big no one to clean that up. No one really.
So what would be like that simple kind of first recipe that you would, someone who's wanting to do this, what would you encourage them to do? What recipe would you go for?
I'm going to say my favorite, probably the favorite thing that I always start with. I'd start off with like the most simple green salad, right? So we'll get some beautiful lettuces. We'll clean.
What's a beautiful lettuce? How would you know a beautiful lettuce that's delicious versus what I'm opening from Save Mart?
Farmers market, co-op. So if we're here in Reno, farmers market.
And what do you look at for lettuce?
Different seasonal items, right? So Lola Rosa, some of the artisan types, not your typical ones. Although I love romaine lettuce and I love iceberg too. So something that's like really crisp, really fresh, from as close to where we are right now as possible. So
that's the key there. Is you want to go as local as you can.
Yeah, it's gonna be more fresh. Now sometimes just because it's local doesn't mean it's really good, because maybe it's chicories and you don't really like chicories, or you don't like Treviso, or you don't like some of the bitter greens that are out there. So, you got to know what your palate is, right? So ask somebody, hey, can I taste that? They'll usually cut you a little piece and just taste it, or just rip it off and taste it.
So the first step would be going to your local farmer's market.
Yeah.
Is Whole Foods pretty farm to table? Or?
Yeah, you can. They label everything nowadays. I haven't been in there in a while, but they label everything. There's a lot of markets out there. If you go in, even in a place like Safeway or Rayleigh's or every store, even Save Mart, I guess, you can really walk in and talk to somebody and say, hey, what's the best meat you got right now? Right. If you can get that person, like I remember I was up in Truckee, it was like, it was Jimmy at Save Mart, right? Jimmy at Rayleigh's, Safeway, Jimmy at Safeway. He was the butcher head fish guy there. And if you went in, he would tell you what was fresh. Oh, wow. And I would always do cooking classes, and I'd be like, hey, go tell Jimmy Mark sent you. And I would go in, and everyone would come back and say, oh my God, I was like having my own butcher shop. These people are humans. They want to give you the best stuff they have, right?
For sure.
Now, granted, sometimes you go there at 8 o'clock and they're not there, and you look, make sure you double check all your pieces of meat that you're buying, because they make the good sides look to you and the bad sides are in the bottom,
Sure.
So, you just got to, you're being aware of shopping, I shop European style, which is I don't go to Costco. I mean, I go to Costco, but I don't usually buy 30 pounds of lettuce for my house.
What do you buy at Costco? What's your go-to at Costco?
Oh, TP. Toilet paper.
Yeah, the basics.
Yeah, toilet paper. I don't know. My girlfriend's kids love. Her son is moving out, but he loves these like frozen pizzas. I'm like, what the heck is that?
Yeah.
But hey, they're convenience and good. And they have a lot of great things at Costco. I buy. You see the stuff that's there, right?
Oh, yeah.
Jeans. I
don't know. We get the wild Alaskan salmon.
Oh, that's delicious.
That's our go-to.
Yeah,
that's our go-to.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Oh, I buy killer salsa at Costco.
Oh yeah. What's the
killer salsa? It's so delicious.
I tasted this salsa at your restaurants.
Yeah. No, they have. That's one of our companies. We have a cool salsa company. We sell a lot of salsa at Costco.
Do you?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Costco's a great store.
So you start with fresh food. You start with fresh lettuce.
Yeah.
Where do you go from there?
If it's wintertime, I do like a different variation of a lyonnaise salad, maybe a poached egg on top with a little bit of caramelized onions and
you
a
have to know how
delicious.
to poach an egg. What you just said is not accessible for like an average cook.
Yeah, well, that's what we're going to show you. We're going to do a demo.
Because when I poach an egg, I fry it.
Yeah.
It's an over easy poach.
And then I put it on. I put it on a croissant and pour sauce on it.
Me and Steve, the used car salesman, are not bringing you to Costco. You're not coming. You're gonna screw up our game.
Well, I sell appliances.
So we're going to we're going to poach an egg on there. We're going to put a nice little mustard vinaigrette. And then we're going to roast the chicken. We're going to buy a whole fresh chicken, delicious, all natural, as local as we can get. Sue Kennedy, if you're here in Reno, you go up to the co-op, Great Basin Food Co-op, and they have the most amazing local chickens you can get right here.
Wow.
We sell that exact same chicken at Liberty, but we cook it for you. So
wow.
Take it home, roast it, maybe brine it, truss it, roast it. And I just think you get so many great meals out of a roasted chicken. And with those greens and literally maybe some potatoes fried, you can fry up some potatoes or roast up a potato, something really easy like that. Or just the chicken and the salad is delicious to me. And that's it, That's as simple as it go.
Literally, I'm ready to go have chicken right now. So what about like cheese? You had cheese this salad? Like what else is going on?
I
with
make a little goat cheese, maybe.
Little goat cheese?
Yeah, a little goat cheese, maybe a shallot. I love vinegar, so maybe like a tablespoon of Dijon mustard, some fresh thyme, a minced shallot, about a third cup of red wine vinegar or sherry vinegar, and about a third cup of extra virgin olive oil. Whisk it together, salt and pepper.
Sherry or red wine? Which one is kind of your go-to?
Sherry's my favorite.
Sure.
But it's not accessible to everybody. Not everyone has it, but red wine vinegar is just as good.
You're not a balsamic guy?
No, balsamic's for a different scenario.
Okay. Yeah. Well, what would be balsamic territory?
It's more like an Italian scenario.
Okay.
Going down the Italian road. So
Okay.
I'm looking for
buffalo mozzarella.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Balsamic's like one of those flavors, like it dominates. You know what I mean? If I make a vinaigrette with a little bit of those ingredients I just said in there, you would be like, what's that? But if I put balsamic in it, that's balsamic vinaigrette.
Gotcha.
It's like garlic. If you're going to put garlic in something, be ready to have garlic in it. Like, call it garlic. Right? Roasted garlic, whatever.
Garlic with a side of chicken.
Yes.
That's me every time. I'm a garlic guy.
50 roasted
cloves.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah. See, I'm more of a garlic and balsamic, and then just a little bit of chicken.
Yeah. For some reason, I believe that.
He's a man of rich taste.
Yeah. Sounds delicious.
So, Mark, it kind of sounds like you're just encouraging people to go with the basics. Start
go
simple,
with the basics.
go fresh.
Yeah.
Don't overcomplicate
it.
And that's how you achieve the mise en place.
And you can throw it down sometimes. You can get there and get all that kind of fancied up. But I think sometimes keeping it simple, cooking things. I don't know about you all, but I work and we all work, and we're out at work usually until a certain amount of time, and you don't have 4 hours to prepare a meal. Come home, get it set up. Whether it's a pre-programmed oven or something along those lines that you might have going on, or come home and you have like a great convection on there. You can really roast something up really quickly.
Yeah.
Maybe you break the chicken down if you don't have time and roast it individually. So but it's kind of fun. It smells good.
Yeah.
And then you get meals for days after, right? You use the bones, you use the carcass, you make a stew, you make a stock, you make a soup.
So do you normally cook with convection or?
Oh yeah,
So tell us why convection.
Well, convection is gonna be a little bit faster. You're gonna get even browning, right? So convection, basically, the way I would break it down is just a fan. So the fan moves the air and keeps the air flowing and circulating, right? So if you just have straight heat, it's going to come from one source. The convection is going to move that heat around evenly. So you get even browning, even heat distribution. So you're going to get it from all sides, even the front of the oven. If you think about it, you put it. This is kind of things I love talking to home cooks about. You put something in the oven. Close the door, you're at 350 convection, it's roasting, you open it to check it every 10 minutes. Really, you're cooking at like 220 degrees because your time keeps, you just let out all the heat, you let the heat in, let the heat out. Convection's going to make that recovery time a lot faster. You're going to get even cooking, which will bring your time temperature up, right? You might leave it in there. If you open it 27 times, not a good call, right? So, I bet there's some things in there that we have, internal temperature readers to stop those things. You don't need to check that. Like
guilty. Guilty. Okay, you got me. I open the oven. I check it. I poke it. I prod it.
What the hell's wrong with you?
I know better just from getting scolded from my girlfriend.
Right. So then your wife opens the oven, sticks her head in there. She's like, God damn.
Yeah, it's taking 45 minutes. 20-minute recipe.
Yeah. Hey guys, Drew from the Appliance Educator podcast here, and I just wanted to take a minute out to talk about our amazing sponsor, ZLINE Kitchen and Bath. You've heard the guests and the hosts talk about this amazing brand and all the attainable luxury that they create right here in the heart of Lake Tahoe, USA. From freestanding ranges to ventilation, dishwasher, and microwave, to everything you'll need to complete your next bathroom project, ZLINE Kitchen and Bath is bringing luxury into your next project. So let's go to the top of the range and let's talk about the burners, because to me, I'm like, I've got a pretty good understand what I'm doing once I put it inside. I put it inside and I just be patient.
Yep.
The top, different burners. I know BTUs, but like, talk to me. What should I be doing? What's the difference?
I think you have it dialed in. Honestly, I think you get it.
for the inside, and now I'm talking about the top.
DP.
I know.
I think you got
so for the top, then I'm like, what should I be using? This big one, this small one? How hot do you know?
Well, again, that goes back to just there's so many little factors we want to look at, right? So, are we looking for a good sear? Are we going to do a saute? You know, we're going to do a little pan roasting, which is roasted on top, and you have it in a nice a pan that goes right into the oven, right? So, and I'm a big fan of the pan roast, right? Nice hot flame going, sear it, flip it over, right? Baste it a little bit, and then maybe pop it in the oven, like just take the whole pan right into the oven, take it back out, right? Let it sit on a little simmer a little bit and finish cooking, and then turn it off and let it kind of rest. You know, some of the things we forget about is, I know in a commercial kitchen, it's like on high or off, right? But at home, and even in in our restaurants now, we do a little bit of cooking that is based on a lot slower, right? So you slow things down a little bit, right? A slower sear, it just changes. It depends on the protein. You know, I can tell you, like, I really love salmon cooked with the skin on. Even the Costco fillets that you get, right? Those little pieces for the sockeyes or the wild Alaskan. You know, you put the skin on, cook it with the skin side down for like 25 minutes on the lowest temperature.
Just a pan fry?
Just a pan fry. It's not even a pan fry. It's like a slow roast on the stovetop, right? And you don't have anything on it. It's just you're just cooking that skin side. The skin gets really crispy. You can start to see there's so much great fat in there, natural fat in there. It just cooks really slowly through. And then I flip it over, put it in the oven for like 2 minutes, take it out, and it's like the most delicious, rich salmon you've ever had.
Oh, so wow.
I think the one thing that I'm really gonna push ZLINE on is that as I've cooked on this before, otherwise I would be sitting here. But like the idea is that you have really precise controls, and that's the best part. You have options, right? So if I'm doing a slow sear, then I'm going to use the smaller one. If I'm doing a hard sear and I need to be quick, I'm going to use the bigger burner, right? And if I'm going to do something that's just going to simmer and I want to forget about it, then I'm going to put it on the simmer, forget about it side, right? And if sometimes it's great because if you're doing something that's a little bit more complex and you're going to make a couple sauces, you might make your sauces and you put them on the really low, extra low simmer setting, let it sit, and you trust the fact that it's not going to burn. And that's really what you want to get down to. You want to be able to trust your stove. You want to know your stove as intimately as you know your shower head and your sink faucet and, whatever else you do.
I do have a fun question for you. Any appliance-related disaster stories from the kitchen where you've seen something really go wrong? Somebody's really using something wrong, or
I definitely mine. I can tell you mine. I say my girlfriend Kimberly and I, we joke a lot because she'll burn the hell out of toast all the time. Like we just use the broiler at the house, and you close it. And it's like all the time. It's like, might as well get another tray ready when we're going to put it in there because one of us will walk away and forget about it, right? So burn it. So sometimes I think that the biggest mess ups I've ever seen is when you burn something, right? So for me, I can speak to the way I burn things. If I'm doing something that I should be paying attention to, and I get sidetracked, whether it's chasing a kid, whether it's answering an email, whether it's looking at outside, or it's like trying to do whatever else you got to do the laundry, or whatever you're doing, you get sidetracked. And I feel like sometimes I got to focus on that. So I burned a Thanksgiving this year for Thanksgiving. I fried a turkey, and I followed the direction. I brought home all my stuff from work, and I was like frying this turkey, and I was like, man, that just doesn't seem right. But I just followed the directions, right? And that turkey, I just looked, and I got sidetracked, and we were I think we were trying to bring a Christmas tree in the house, and all this crazy stuff was going on. And I pulled it out, and it was literally like dust.
Oh no!
I was so angry. But not at anybody, just myself. Yeah. But then I kind of got angry at everybody.
Yeah. And then, it's called trickle down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this thing, I took it out, and Kimberly's dad, who's a great guy, is like, I love him so much. He's like, hey, chef, what's going on with that turkey? He's like, is that blackened or something? He didn't know. And I was like, exactly, yes, it was blackened turkey. So thank God I had a big turkey, and a few people didn't show up. So I carved off all the just singed stuff, like literally singed. And I laid it all out, and I put a bunch of herbs all over it. It looked beautiful. No one knew, except for they knew.
Except for you.
Except for they knew.
Well, I guess that's the joy of being like a chef, right?
Yeah.
You're a famous chef, so you're like, you're being artistic with the meal, and then
it was intentional.
Oh, yeah. Like Mark, this is Mark's version of fried turkey.
Well,
versus like if my mom made that, Mom, this is shit.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like what the hell?
It's a Cajun blackened turkey special recipe that the
fried to heck. It was like a turd. It was like a turkey turd.
Oh man.
Another one would be know your audience. I think I was talking about this a few weeks ago, but when I first started meeting Kim, I'm going to talk about Kimberly and the kids all the time. It's just who I am.
Yeah, so awesome.
The girls, I made mac and cheese the very first time I met them, And they were like, oh my God, this is the best mac and cheese. Like, Mom, this guy's great. We love him, right?
Nice.
And then the next 10 times I made it, it was different variations of that same recipe because I never really make the same thing over and over. And they were literally like walking off crying. And I was like, what the hell's wrong with you, right? And they're like, that's not mac and cheese. That's pasta with butter. That's noodles with butter and cheese. I was like, oh, so there's a expectation, So Briella and Jojo, who are 7 and 10, and then my son Enzo, who's 8. Enzo will eat it all, but they were like, they had that one mac and cheese was like the gold standard, and that I've never been able to get there. So I just stopped making it, and then I let their mom make it for them. So I quit mac and cheese, and they actually are very happy because they don't want me to keep trying.
It's craft,
right? So it's funny,
better than craft.
No, she makes it homemade. It's delicious.
That's
it's
cool.
delicious.
So managing expectations.
Manage expectations. Stay in your lane. Don't be over creative. Yeah. So some of the messes that I've got into is when I try to get out of my lane or try to be over creative, right? Like those sometimes are like really good messes. One that wasn't necessarily related to. It was more of a mental failure. I was doing a demonstration at someone's home up in Incline, and I was making pretzels, and I had lye. To make a real pretzel, you have to dip it in lye, right? Food grade lye, but it still is dangerous. And I asked one of the pastry chefs to say, "Hey, what about this?" And he told me exactly the methodology. So I grab. He said dissolve the lye in water, but he didn't say cold water. I assume dissolving is hot water, right? So warm water. So I heated up the water. I poured the lye in there, and it blew up.
Jeez.
And our insurance claim is $120,000 after that.
Oh shit!
I mean, not because of scars on my arm, but it boiled over onto their stove. Yeah, I think they went and got a ZLINE after, which is pretty good. It burned their stove because the stove they had wasn't as good. I can't name it for you, but it wasn't a ZLINE.
Yeah, well, as long as we don't do hot lye.
Right, no hot lye. And then it went onto their wood floor and went kind of crazy.
Oh, probably destroyed every surface.
Oh, so that was not a good thing. And they were like, I was like, okay, pretzel demo. And I when they did it was pre anyone coming, and I went, it was horrible.
What is lye? What is it?
It will pale that lye is
LYE.
Yeah, it's a. I think it's a natural. It's a chemical. They use it to take hair off things. Yeah.
So stop eating pretzels is kind of what I'm taking from this.
No, pretzels are delicious.
And so
just understand how to use the lye. That would be it's a me fault.
So coming to Appliance Educator, look out for the how to clean up a lye disaster video.
Yes, do not do that. I feel like we play something on Breaking Bad. It's Breaking Bad.
This is going to be a great. We're gonna pivot to the kitchen and have you make some pretzels.
Yeah. I can do it now. I feel confident, very confident.
Can we do it with the original recipe?
Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
Let's see. That would be one we could test to. Let's do a little R&D in back there with Andy. You guys any bread bakers yet?
Oh, so making bread is so freaking hard.
I know.
It's the hardest thing.
I've heard 2 big myths. I want you to put them to rest about flour and water. Like when it comes to dough. One, that the dough really, it's about the flour, but it's also the water. It just changes the taste. Where you are located in the country, the mineral content, is that legit?
That is true. I mean, you can pretty much get away with anything, but to get it to the next level using certain water, I know people use sparkling water or they use bottled water when they're making doughs or pastas.
The second one I've heard is like pretentious chefs assessing flour. They'll take it in their hand and they'll throw it in the air and they'll see how long it stays airborne. Is that a real thing?
I never heard of that. That sounds like a LeBron James thing, right? Like
glass in chalk. Yeah.
I'm not saying it's not true. It's not something I would do. One thing that I could talk about that I think is really cool is terroir, right? And terroir is where we are what we eat. And so we are what we eat, where it comes from, is really going to tell you the flavors, right? So, if you know about wines a little bit, wines where it's really lush and easy to grow wines, those wines are kind of like, they're fluffy and nice and easy to drink, right? But wines where the vines are stressed out and hillside and different, they're struggling in a really arid soil, and maybe that's why Napa's so great because it has so many different climates in the same part of the day. It gets really, it struggles and stresses out. So it tastes really delicious and it's complex, right? So when we eat products, we get products that are, whether it's milk, right? So different times of different milk, when a cow's milked, where did it eat, right? Is it up by Tamales Bay? And that they make a cheese up there called Pierce Point, and it's got the salt content is just from the fact that the cows eat all the clover and the milk out there, and you're getting that kind of salt water when they eat off that. So they get different milk from different places, and they use that to make cheese. So that's one small example. So we are what we eat, and so are the animals. What our animals eat, or our things eat, and where things grow, you're going to get that flavor imparted in your food. So, to understand where it comes from is really important. I can go on that for like thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of hours if you wanted to.
I think it's fascinating.
Yeah.
We just watched this documentary the other day called Soil.
Yeah.
Have you seen that on Netflix?
No.
It is just fascinating. And it's one of those things where it's like, I keep wondering, and you actually just answered this question as you were talking. I keep wondering why a croissant in France tastes amazing.
Yeah.
And also doesn't make me feel weird because I have kind of a gluten tolerance. So I inherited it from my mom. It doesn't make me, I don't feel this gluten intolerance in France. I can eat all the croissants I want. And can you speak to that and your opinion behind this?
What I think is pretty known is that a lot of times in America we homogenize a lot of our farming and farming abilities, and so all the grasses and grains and wheats and all the flours that we make, we added things to them to make them better, right? Why is there iodinized salt in the world, right? Because in 1940 we need to have iodine in our diet, so they put iodine in salt because everyone uses salt, right? So now there's iodized salt. We don't use that anywhere. It's got no use in our book right now. So why do they change? In Europe, they didn't really modify any of their flours over there, right? They're natural. They're the way they were. They didn't splice them together. They didn't try to make it so everything grew the same way and have it all be one way. And you're going to grow this and you're going to grow that, right? So over in Europe, they say, okay, cool. You all grow something. It's a nice ecosystem, an agri-hood, if you will. Over here, we were like, cool, we're going to have one farmer grow everything for 1,000 miles. We're going to put all the other farmers out of business. We're going to subsidize them all to not grow things. So then they started adding additives and all those things back into the soil, back into the product. And now I think you're seeing people starting to do their own thing, right? Central Milling is a place that's, it's the same way that there's like pork production in big factory farms. There's big factory flour. And then there's also people who are growing pork, 10 head at a time. 10 pigs at a time, and then selling them through like a Nyman Ranch or through Radiant Valley Farms here in Washoe Valley, which is organic pork right here in Reno, right outside of Reno. And you can get that at the co-op also. So there's some really cool things going on out there. And I think that the less we screw at things, the better it is, right? So my job, our restaurants, we say a lot is like, just get the best ingredients and don't fuck them up.
Let me ask this, Chef. You've brought up like local and eating as local as you can, kind of your agri-hood, your food neighborhood. How hard is it for someone who's hearing about this the first time and is like, I really love what you're saying? I mean, is it, I can go home tonight, do a little Google search and I'll find stuff in my neighborhood? Is it, how hard is it to get into?
Right now, these days, it's so easy, really. There's local baskets. There's so many things. You just look up, I want to eat local, type it in, and you'll see exactly what you're going to get. I mean, there's so many things out there right now. Ridiculous, really. So, I mean, go down to your local market. Again, even if you live in what we'd say a food desert, is you don't have a lot of markets around you, or just go in and start talking to somebody. Ask the person who's stocking them, where are those pears from? Where are those apples from? Where you get any local stuff? And they might say, hey, maybe as local as you can get is California. Well, that's better than, Peru or France or someplace else, right? Places using, Pearson. We have a great bakery here in Reno, which they make croissants just as good as France in my book.
Love that place.
You start to see people going back to the old roots, and that's really what it comes down to, right? Going back, right? There was slow food movement, and now really it's kind of like the norm. People look for those things, and I always love it. I love it. I was at Walmart the other day for some reason. I was getting something at Walmart, and I was looking through there was duck fat on the Walmart thing. I was looking, and I was like, wow. I was just kind of going through and looking at. Sometimes I walk through to see what I do is I go through the grocery store and I see what we're out of, and I can kind of find out what people are buying, right? So if you go there and they're out of extra virgin olive oil, people like extra virgin olive oil, right? If they have a ton of olive oil, well, don't make olive oil.
That's interesting.
So you can kind of see. So I was looking, it was like duck fat at Walmart. I almost died. I was like, wow, that's obviously people are buying duck fat. Right, so you kind of see what's out there, and the more people want local food, the more people ask for these things, the more they're going to be in our grocery stores. You'd be surprised at things you can find in some of these places now.
So duck fat, what would you make with duck fat?
Duck fat fries. You can substitute it as making potatoes. You could use it as a substitute to kind of base things or confit things, or use it instead of butter in certain cases. It's like a really rich flavor. It's delicious.
Fantastic. Yeah. Well, Chef, I just want to thank you for your time today.
No,
this has been an awesome conversation, and obviously we've got a lot more to get into, so we'll definitely have you back. Yeah. Galen, I want to thank you as always for being on the cast. Some great contributions today. So
some good, some bad.
You can do a little better.
You can do a little better.
Ask yourself tonight and tomorrow.
Yeah. It'll be a dark, cold place.
It's usually shooting pretty hot.
I just really appreciate being on the podcast with both of you. Mark, every time I get to spend some time with you, I learn something. I just really appreciate it.
Yeah. Well. Isn't that great, right? What Jimmy Valvano said, right? We all know Jimmy V. He said, like, if you move to tears, if you can laugh every day, if you can learn something every day, if you can be moved to tears, right? Your emotions get moved, right? It's like you better have a great day, really, that's all there is to it. So I'm going to cry on that.
No, this went to a deep emotional place, but I think it's fantastic. So,
I love it.
Yeah, thank you both for your time today. And for the Appliance Educator podcast, this is your host, Drew Pearson, Chef Mark Estee, and Galen Bradford from ZLINE Kitchen and Bath. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
This has been the Appliance Educator podcast, brought to you by ZLINE Kitchen and Bath. Be sure to like, subscribe, and follow @Appliance Educator for more tips and tricks and advice to keep your home running at optimal performance. If you have any ideas or topics you'd like to hear on future episodes of the show, leave us a comment. Appliance Educator, signing off.